Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kiara, and this is my first video. I posted a video years ago that I took down, so this is technically not my first video, but it's my first in this attempt at YouTube. I'm showing up today in my work outfit, no makeup, just literally coming as I am, and I want to keep this unscripted, unedited, off the dome because I want to remove every obstacle working against my posting it that I can think of. And a lot of that has to do around, my makeup, how I'm presenting myself, all of this. And I just want to show up as I am, post the video, and keep it moving. So today I want to talk a bit about the fear of being perceived. I'm seeing this come across a lot of my timelines. It seems like it's kind of a trending topic, and everybody has their take. And I'd like to talk about what I think that fear is actually a symptom of and what it's trying to protect, as well as ways that you can sort of check that fear so that way you can move past it. Okay, so for starters, the fear of being perceived is essentially like you are not posting the videos that you know you want to post. You're not sharing your writing. You're not speaking your truth. You're not sharing your thoughts and opinions on things. And this can be online and offline. This can be about wanting to show up on social media, but it can also be about how you show up in your everyday, how you show up to the people around you. And a lot of this is, yes, people-pleasing tendency, but it's also a control mechanism. And I know for myself that the thing that has felt the scariest about being perceived or putting myself out there to be perceived is the judgment that can come with perception, and then also the rejection that can come from the judgment of being perceived. And so, even more simply put than that, it's about being misunderstood, wanting desperately to be understood, and fearing that you're not going to be understood, fearing that your message is not going to be received in the way that you intended, fearing that people are going to look at you and judge you based off of what you look like, how you speak, all of these little factors of just putting yourself out there for somebody else to witness and formulate their own ideas and own interpretation in their mind of who you are, what you're saying, and what you're about. And having that interpretation be wrong or undesirable, having people see you in a way that you don't want to be perceived. And so that's why I say it's kind of a control mechanism to hide yourself away out of that fear. It's about not wanting to lose control over your image in a lot of ways. And I don't just mean your physical image, I mean your image in other people's minds, what they think of you. And so sometimes it seems safer to, it feels safer to silence yourself, your ideas, to minimize yourself, because that seems like it would be the palatable option, right? And if you're palatable to everyone, then why would anybody reject you, right? But the issue with that is that you just by virtue of being a human in a body and walking out into this world, people are going to form judgments around you. And silencing yourself and minimizing yourself is still giving people something to judge you off of. It's just that, like, it's not informed by any part of your truth, you know? So when you minimize yourself in an attempt to be palatable to everybody, so that way you're not judged or rejected, the issue with that is that you're actually like rejecting yourself in an attempt to not be rejected by anybody else. When we quiet our voice or make ourselves smaller, there's a part of us that's saying within our own brains that, like, you are not worthy of speaking your truth. You are not worthy of showing up as who you really are. And if you do show up as who you really are, people are not going to take that. People are not going to like it. People are not going to accept that. And so going into interactions or situations or opportunities already thinking that you're going to be rejected is you self-rejecting before anybody else can have an opportunity to reject you. The truth is that there's always going to be somebody that misunderstands you. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't agree with what you're saying. There's always going to be somebody that has an issue with you. And most of the time, that issue is not even personal. Most of the time, that issue is a reflection of whatever that person is projecting onto you. Yes, people can like just flat out disagree with something you're saying or how you feel about an issue. But reasonable people and honestly, like intelligent people can disagree with something without completely, eviscerating the person that's delivering the message. Yes, okay, we live in a world right now where somebody can get online and say the most like unhinged things to somebody else behind a screen. But that's the thing, is like there is safety, but there is safety in sitting behind a screen and like running off at the mouth to somebody. Most of the people who operate like that are not going to say that to somebody's actual face, right? So these people, again, are dealing with their own internal rage, their own internal issues, their own projections, and minimizing yourself to accommodate people like that is minimizing your quality of life, because you sitting in the corner, keeping your mouth shut, being all mousy and invisible isn't doing anybody any favors. Least of all you. You are literally minimizing your one life that we know of. As far as we know, we only get this one life, and you're minimizing it to accommodate people who have their own unresolved issues and who project that onto other people. Like the fear of having somebody project their issues onto you or like accommodating that fear is just like, it's a huge disservice to you and your life. Because if we're only given this one life, then our responsibility in this one life is to show up as authentically and honestly as we can to realize our potential as fully as we can. And if you're not able to do that because, or you're allowing fear to keep you from doing that, like you're letting the years and minutes and weeks of your life pass by pretending to be somebody you're not. And that just starts to feel more and more and more and more like a cage. And the more you feel like you're in a cage, the more the situation of your life feels hopeless, the more negative your mindset becomes. Like, if you decide that you want to speak your truth to another person and they reject you because of that, they're at least rejecting you because of who you really are. If you have a million friends based off of a false version of who you are, that is not going to feel good to you, and it's going to have you questioning your identity and basically mind effing yourself into a fake community. It's not worth it. So anyway, that was a bit of a rant, but still valid. So as I was saying earlier, the fear of being perceived is a fear of being judged, is the fear of being rejected, but it's also a fear of not having control. It's a fear of relinquishing control around other people's interpretation of you and wanting to manage your image so tightly to where nobody really knows you is so isolating and alienating that like it diminishes. There's diminishing returns on that. Okay, you may feel like, oh, I'm unproblematic and nobody can say anything about me because I'm not actually like, making waves by speaking up for myself or speaking my truth or putting myself out there. But you're also making your life smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You're making yourself smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the thing is we're all gonna die someday, baby. We're all gonna die someday. And that will be your legacy. That you never spoke up, you just went along with the flow for everybody, even when it went against your own needs. What does that matter? Like, even if you're a completely problematic personality and everybody takes issue with you, if you're being yourself, I guarantee you what you get back in terms of like your own realizing your potential will still be greater than like pretending to be somebody you're not, or minimizing yourself or making yourself smaller. So I'm literally just gonna post this video and not even edit it because this is just my first video. I have no expectations of it. It's literally for me to just get comfortable with putting myself out there because I'm speaking from experience, baby. I am speaking from experience. Trust me. I have made myself so small. And it's crazy because like there's also this version of me that like got up and moved to New York City with like $300 and stayed there for years. There's a version of me that traveled all over the world by myself. There's a version of me that, ran in really beautiful circles of beautiful people doing really cool things, and still, even with all of that, all of those signals that like, hey, you do matter and you are a force, based off of times that I was rejected by people, made myself smaller, went into my shell, hid myself away because of the people that rejected me, as opposed to looking at all of the situations and experiences where people were like, wow, like we're really like about you. Instead of looking at that, I looked at the people who rejected me and minimized myself based off of that, to the point where I've really isolated myself, from community, from opportunities. And that's another reason why I'm just putting this video out there to get the momentum going. And that's what I would hope to inspire you to do, is to just take a step. whether that's being honest with somebody in your day-to-day about how you feel, because that's kind of how it started for me, was just setting boundaries in my real life, in places and in situations and with people that I normally wouldn't have put boundaries, you know? And we can talk about boundaries another time, because I also think that word is like kind of a buzzword, and it can also serve to isolate and alienate. But if you are somebody who has minimized yourself or has operated as a people pleaser, then boundaries are going to be important for you. And they're going to be an important first step to starting to like stepping back into yourself. And so I spent a good year or so putting boundaries with, you know, in relationships, in my personal life. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm ready to step out on the internet. And here's another thing, is that a lot of times when we're fearing being judged by others, that fear is based off of judgments made by people we've known in real life. So people who maybe family or like former friends or things like that, who have judged you and rejected you, you know, maybe you've been ghosted or, you know, minimized by your family, or, you know, treated in certain ways that made you feel like it wasn't safe to just be yourself. And so we go into new opportunities with new people and even strangers, thinking that those judgments that those people had are going to be the same judgments and rejections that we receive from other people. But like in my experience, sometimes strangers are more supportive than the people in your day-to-day life. So like stepping out on social media, you may receive feedback from people seeing you and being like, wow, that person really has a light that I gravitate toward. That person has a message or something about them that like I find really, you know, attractive. And I don't mean attractive in the way of like attractive. I mean attractive in the way of like magnetic, pulling people in, you know? And people may have really positive feedback for you. And really, you may be able to build a community of people you've never met who are, you know, aligned with your message and who you are. Whereas to the people around you, sometimes don't always have your best interest in mind, because sometimes the people closest to you take some pleasure off of watching you fall, you know? And yeah, that could be said about people in general. I mean, if we look at celebrity culture, we see people, you know, have their fall from grace and the whole public turning against them for, you know, whatever reason. And I'm not saying that like we should, you know, put celebrities on a pedestal. Like, I actually feel like we need to kind of step away from that culture a little bit more. I'm just saying that, like, you know, pop culture is somewhere where we can see kind of like human behaviors play out in mass, you know? Anyway, so sometimes putting yourself out there to the world will actually yield better results, will yield better results than not. So I actually have therapy. I did not realize it was already noon. I'm gonna hop off and I will catch up with you guys in the next video. I know that that's not a really much of a conclusion, but the point is trust that who you are and what you have to say actually does matter. And there will be people that, yes, will judge you, will reject you, will have issue with it, but there also will be plenty of people who get it. Until next time.